you should all delegate a lot of stuff. Well, delegating costs money. So wanted to share some stuff that I've seen working with some of the private clients I had. We actually kind of built out this initial piece, this option 1, the weekly client machine for somebody, testing it with somebody else. So thought I'd walk you through this because, I mean, all of you guys have seen Doug's like monthly marketing plan, and I think it is wonderful, but I also know that some of you may not be in a position to execute all of it. So this is kind of something that was more streamlined for somebody that you can augment it with some of those other things. But like if you're just talking about how do I keep the pipeline moving every week, this is a very simple plan that if you add in a lot of his community stuff, networking stuff on top of it, it's like throwing gas on the fire. So the step 1 is we've kind of picked congruent lead magnets. And let me tell you what that means. Like a congruent lead magnet, I think, is something that is desire-based, solves a problem, or directs somebody towards achieving a specific goal. It's not just this cast a really wide net lead magnet, which would be like healthy holiday recipes. Healthy holiday recipes don't necessarily prove to be indicative of somebody wanting to exercise, right? But somebody who may have more intent. And so, but on the thank you page, or if you're using a lead ad, like the first thing they see after, right? Like what you're going to send them in that initial email, you're going to make them an irresistible offer that is like discounted. Because we're trying to get intent here. We're trying to get somebody to say, I want to do the thing. Those now people. Because a lot of people, when they get leads, they lose sight of the fact that sales cycles usually aren't instantaneous. But for a few people, 5, 10, 15%, you're going to get yeses now if you have the right type of offer. So we want impulse buy out of the gate. So for this, the initial person I put this together for, it was $29 for a single personal training session because it was a one-on-one training business, literally in downtown Manhattan. And so they'd pick up people that way. But I would tell you to think back to like what offers converted in Groupon. That would be the type of offer I would put here. And we're just trying to get somebody to come through the door. I think that a lot of it, people get so hung up on qualification by price and miss qualification by like intent or desire. And I don't think price is the prohibitive thing for a lot of people. And I can tell you that plenty of people, well, I'll ask it this way. How many of you have bought a course or a program that you paid for but didn't finish? That means price wasn't the prohibitive factor. Intent, desire, time, those were. Okay? So we can say we think price is the issue, but it's not the issue as often as we would like to think. So on the thank you page, immediately we go to this. You can run an onboarding sequence like Doug's and push in a multifaceted way. You guys already have access to it, so I just linked to it here where it's, hey, we're going to hit you via phone call, we're going to hit you via text message, we're going to hit you via email. I would tell you the one thing that I would do in addition, not even necessarily differently, I would just tack on a 3-day promotion in there that they can decide, but it's still an impulse buy. It's still a low barrier thing, right? And I'll describe that in a minute. But the alternative, like we have the little onboarding sequence. If you're talking about something shorter, simpler, if you don't have somebody making outbound phone calls, all of you should have a second way of outreach, not just email. It should never just be email, right? We talk a lot about email because email is simple to automate, but the second piece should either be text or phone calls or both, right? So second plus a bonus, right? It warms my heart to see people doing voicemail drops and that sort of stuff, because we were doing voicemail drops in 2004. Like, that was a big piece of what we would go do if we were going to run any promotion. So the 3-day promo for a discounted irresistible offer, if you really want to get a little bit more mileage out of it, stack bonuses each day. And they can be disposable bonuses. They can be things you already have. They can be, hey, get this recipe guide, get this other thing. But every day, add something else, and then it all goes away at the end of the 3rd day. If you got a $29 offer, well, okay, now this day we added this day we added this day we added this, and then it all expires. Just, again, to try to get people to make it, the now people, get them to say yes, right? I've referenced Dean Jackson a bunch through what I do. I really have learned a ton from him. I consider him kind of a marketing mentor, a friend, acquaintance, somewhere in the middle, right? Like, I know him well enough that I could call him, but, we don't go golf together or anything all the time. So he, I think, understands this stuff, this human behavior stuff so well, and it's everywhere that, well, first of all, you're all familiar with like the landing page, like the squeeze page, right? He invented the squeeze page. Smartest, simplest thing ever. A lot of these things are really just simple concepts based around human behavior. Well, as the marketing side of this, we all want people to do the thing we want them to do when we want them to do it. It's not how people buy stuff, right? And I've talked about this till I've been like blue in the face. People, 10, 15, 20% of the people are ready to make a decision pretty quickly because they're already in that kind of stage of the journey or stage of the cycle. The rest of the people, they're in different stages. They may just be in the discovery process. They may be kind of in the investigative process. They may be closing in on making a decision. So we got to kind of have something for every stage. So we want to hit pretty hard with that initial kind of piece. And I think like Doug's system does a wonderful job of trying to engage people in a variety of fashions. The only thing adding this little 3-day piece of the puzzle is there's this fear of missing out. There's this kind of driver for urgency. The same way that you would experience it during like Black Friday. Man, you can buy stuff whenever. You don't have to buy it during that window, but for the best discount, you buy it then. That's why Groupon worked for so long. And it was this, I'm going to buy this now because I'm never going to get a better deal than this. So adding that in has helped. And it basically allowed the first business we installed this with to recoup all their ad costs like in that first little window, right? I'm pretty sure like on day one. But if not, it was like in that first onboarding sequence. All right, so we've got, I got 2 step 3s, don't I? That's actually 4. All right, so then we go to make a weekly offer. And I know when Doug talks about his marketing plan, they talk about like doing 2 a month, right? I would tell you if you are in a stage of like growth where you need more business, I would tell you make an offer every week. Like you don't know when's the right week for somebody. And so if we're trying to catch them on that journey, make an offer every week. And then I gave you the simplest system that I kind of sketched out. Week 1, 2, 3, 4. Week 1, just a traditional invitation, kind of the, hey, we're going to be bringing on a couple new people next week or a couple new people in this program. Would you like to join us? Any of the invitation style offers. So week 2, kind of same deal. Week 3, depending on where your business is, where your capacity is, another traditional type of invitation. Or if you feel like, hey, I need to kind of have a pattern interrupt and change it up. And when I say traditional invitation, I mean, I linked the document down here for the offers and all that fun stuff. You got plenty of options. It's not like you're sending the same email every week. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you find a winner, don't think I've got to cycle past it. I mean, you guys all understand email open rates. If you're getting 20, 25% open, that means 75% didn't see it. So keep sending, but you can also cycle in on this third week a guest invitation, which basically is like, hey, we've got a few spots open this week if you'd like to come in as my guest. And so now it's just a little bit of a pattern interrupt. If you don't do free a lot, this is kind of a cool option. I'll talk more about the way you can do guest invitation stuff in a minute. And then week 4, I know in Doug's, like when he talked about the offers they make, they usually just use towards the end of the month, the one that we always talk about. Hey, we're going to be bringing on, you know, a few new clients in November. Would you be interested in details? Would you like to join us? Something like that. Really simple, right? But now we've got catching all the new people during that kind of point of entry into our pipeline. We got offers going out every week. Now, you're going to get better response if you've got smaller commitment offers. And it's just common sense, right? Like more volume for lower price or lower commitment. Now, we may be thinking, hey, that's a bad thing. I would tell you, most of you are pretty darn good at what you do. I would rather convince somebody to make a commitment when they're in the room with me than try to convince them to make a commitment in a 300-word email. So I'd rather get them to say yes, make a small commitment, get to know them, try to upgrade that level of commitment. So guest invitations. If you've got capacity, if you've got large group, if you've got a lot of capacity in a small group, free 14-day resets. Notice I didn't call it a trial. A trial kind of implies you're starting this thing, and I mean, you know what happens, like if you get a trial of Netflix, then you're like, oh, and then the trial renews. And so there's this perception of what this word is. It's not like you're getting something that has a defined benefit. You're basically just getting a tryout. And if you don't change anything, it renews. So I would encourage you, if you're not getting the conversions you want with the trial, just repackage it. Same stuff, just repackage it. A 14-day reset is, I mean, simple benefits, right? Like, hey, you're going to come in, you're going to kind of get back into a routine. It kind of implies reset means you haven't been doing something the way that maybe you feel like you should have been doing it. We're giving you a pass, right? So you tell them, yeah, they're not going to go lose 20 pounds in 14 days, but that doesn't mean they can't feel better. Probably lose a couple pounds just because if you give them anything that changes the way they were eating, they'll probably drop a little bit of water weight. They'll not feel bloated, all that stuff, right? So free 14-day resets. You can invite people in as a one-time guest, something like that. Or something that we've seen work with a few people. We did it with this guy first, and I've done it with a couple other people, and it's worked out really well. It's be like, hey, we've got spots for 2 guests this week. We only have capacity for 2 guests because, and it's kind of like velvet rope. It's like, you know, because everybody that comes in, we do an assessment, we do this white glove service, you know, so we only have these 2 spots. So if you're interested, reply now because, you know, they'll go quick and, you know, we'll put you on a waiting list if the spots are taken. So again, it's just this implied scarcity. You don't feel like, oh, I've got to cast this wide net where we need to get 20 people in. So that's a cool way if you like run private, semi-private, even small group, but you're pretty full. Just kind of a cool way to get people in and make it feel exclusive still. Because a lot of times people will imply free means not exclusive. Well, if you're put on a waiting list for free, then it's still kind of exclusive, right? So small commitment offers, 14-day paid single session, 2 to 3 session packages. We've gotten so far down the line thinking, hey, let's get people to make the commitment we want them to make out of the gate sometimes, that we lose sight of the fact that making a commitment to us and our business is different than being interested in making a commitment. Like, you can say, I want to go have dinner, doesn't mean that I'm only choosing this restaurant. I have the latitude to choose from several restaurants. So giving people a low-risk way, and low risk sometimes can mean, hey, I'll get a buyer. One of the reasons Groupons work so well, or gift cards are so popular, is they don't require immediate usage. And so now you can get somebody with intent who may want to buy something and say, well, I'm going to use that in January. Cool, use it in January. I don't care when you use it. If you're paying me in advance, I'm not sad about that, right? So those small commitment offers tend to convert really well. Then the next step, which should say step 4, but it says step 3, is rotating weekly actions. Week 1, we do one thing. Week 2, week 3, week 4. And week 1 is just, we're going to do some sort of referral invitation. And we've got a menu of those, obviously. So I'm not telling you which one that you have to stick with. Again, you can cycle through things. It's just you're choosing from this menu. You do a bring a friend day, a bring a friend week. You don't have to ask everybody to bring a friend. You just know that this week, we're going to deploy some sort of referral request. If you're going to run a charity event, it's this week. If you're going to run any one-time referral type event, like some sort of community driver, it's this week. If you're going to give gift cards out, it's this week. What this does is allow you, like let's say that you're asking trainers to execute on your behalf. This is very paint by numbers. This is, you did it or you didn't. There's a deadline this week. We really love, like, how many of you have done like the SCALE program? One of the powerful things about the SCALE program is you do the thing this week. There's a deadline. You did or you didn't. Well, that's part of what the logic is here too. Okay, this week you do this thing. The next week we do review requests. Now, if all you're doing is asking for 5 reviews, and maybe you get 2 or 3, that's the week you do it, right? The following week, we do some public client recognition. So you're just sharing successes, client of the month, featured clients throughout the course of the week. You tag them, they share it with their friends. So again, it's just another way to get the word out. And then week 4, you do the text offer, and it can just mirror what you sent out via email. But there's going to be some sort of outreach. Now, if you're sending out 1 million texts, like some people, you're going to have to stagger that. All right? All right. The next one, every 4 to 12 weeks. And this really depends on how big you're going to push this. We're going to do some sort of deadline-driven offer. And if you're running short-term programs, challenges, you can do them more frequently. If you're running, 6-week challenges 6 or 7 times a month, can you scroll up? She paid really good attention to yours. She don't pay no attention to mine. So if you're doing a bunch of the 6-week challenges, then you don't need such a long lead up, right? But if you're only doing stuff maybe once a quarter, then we can have a long lead up. So I sketched this out, and you're going to look at this and you're going to say, man, that's a whole lot. Well, if you're only doing 3 or 4 big deadline-driven offers, you're allowed to use a whole lot of promotional real estate on it. So 2 weeks before, you tease it, 1 to 2 emails, 1 to 2 social posts. 1 week before, same thing. Then the pre-launch. leading up to open cart, when this becomes available, every day we're hitting something. Okay, we are hitting, email, text, or both, social mixed in too. And then day one of the promotion, you see how much, you get all of that one in there. There you go. You see how many things would go out on day one and be like, man, that's a whole lot. Good. Because if this is a big deal, make it a big deal. And a good example of this will be like Black Friday. If you're running deadline-driven stuff, if you aren't noisy, you will be ignored because everybody else is going to be noisy. So that means personal invitations. Like let's say that on day one, you're going to do a paid in full promotion for current clients. You're going to personally invite the people you think are good candidates. Then you're going to do an announcement email. You may do an announcement post. You're going to send, if there's a limit, like, hey, we're going to take the first 10 people who want to prepay the upcoming year or whatever at this discount. Then when you get to 5, send out an email and say, hey, we only have 5 left. And then we'll do a close the offer thing. But if you're doing an ongoing deal, second day, again, typically when we've run deadline-driven stuff, I've never let it run longer than 5 days, Monday through Friday. Now, sometimes 3 days is enough. I will tell you during Black Friday, there are like 2 options that people typically run with. They'll leave something open the entire time, where it's like Black Friday through Cyber Monday. They got a 4-day push. Sometimes they will do Friday, we do internal, paid in full, prepay type stuff. Then Small Business Saturday, they run like retail stuff. Then Sunday, maybe they do client upgrade stuff. And then Cyber Monday, they do low barrier front-end offers. And it's just open cart, promote aggressively, close cart that day. So you've got deadline, urgency each time out. So we mix this in throughout the promotion. And if you think you've sent it out enough, double what you were sending and you're probably getting close. That means if you send an email, resend it to non-opens. If you send a text, add in a social media post. If you've done text and social media, add in internal signage, do a voice broadcast. Again, it is your business, it is your responsibility to ring the cash register. And so when we say clients and cash, and this is a cash flow business, not a cash out business, ultimately you're the one who has to create the cash. And these are the opportunities to do it. And we're running on this typical cycle where maybe 40 weeks a year, we're just running on that regular, hey, we do one thing a week that is consistent outreach offer, one thing that's kind of layered on, we're getting new people in the pipeline, and then we have these periodic bursts of, man, I am just going to get everybody who's thinking about it on my list. Everybody that is a friend of a client, I'm going to kind of whip everybody into a frenzy and make some giant irresistible offer. Okay? Now, again, if you got a business that's running like clockwork, you may not need to go this hard at stuff. But if you're saying, okay, you know what? I'm kind of in this fringe area where I want to hire, but I don't have enough money to hire somebody full time. Or, you know what, I want to pay myself a little bit more. Or we need to add $15,000 more a month or something like that. Adding in some of this stuff, and I know you guys do a really heavy push one time a year at some of this, but you could probably add in some of the elements of that kind of excitement and urgency other times a year. Now, one thing that I've added here, and you guys can click on it on the document in the group to make it easier so Holly doesn't have to change screens. Step 5, use a calendar so you get an idea. Right there's a year-at-a-glance calendar.
Nobody can access it.
So the person who was late to the party figured that out, right? So there's this wonderful calendar that shows you weekdays, weekends, they show all this stuff. It's a really cool little at-a-glance calendar. The reason I would tell you to look at that is you'll see, okay, this is when I need to run these promotions, but then where the gaps are to run the bigger promotions. And a lot of times we just don't, Doug said, okay, the 11 systems, one of them was a marketing calendar. I am not somebody who thinks, hey, I need to have every nuance of November planned out the previous December. I think that we learn more, we evolve, everything else. But I do think that we know when Black Friday is, the upcoming November. So we know, hey, I need to allocate this much space for promotions. I need to be ready to promote something at this day. Because if you don't, you're always going to be scrambling. There are way too many people that say, I'm going to run a 6-week transformation challenge, and they promote it for 6 days with no lead up, no pre-sale, no anticipation, a haphazard thrown together sales page. If you see it on the calendar and you can anticipate what you're going to have to do, it makes life a lot easier. Doesn't mean you have to have the details of it. You just have to know when the details are due. And that may be the biggest piece of this. People work better with deadlines. That's why I referenced the scale program. We completely re-engineered Sprint to work around weekly deadlines. Because we would give people stuff and would say, hey, here's all your marketing stuff. And they wouldn't implement any of it. They wouldn't even look in the folder. But if you have hey, we're installing this referral system this week, you'd get like 80% of them to implement it. Deadlines are gold, so create your own calendar or put your own calendar up there and use the deadlines. I will make sure you all, I think on that thing, all you had to do is make a copy of it, right? It just says make a copy. I don't think there's anything else to it. We'll see. If not, I will.
Well, we're supposed to see. We have access.
Can you guys not make a copy of that calendar in your?
We don't have access.
We don't have access to it unless you go into
Just
this
saw up
specific
here.
file.
We don't have access.
Okay.
Well, that's because Holly's signed in as Holly, I guess.
Holly.
I don't know.
Nobody has access.
Okay.
You have to make it viewable.
To anybody who
Just
has
like we tell
All right.
when they share a Google Doc.
Basically, what we're saying is it's your fault.
One job.
Finally. If we'd have been preparing for this presentation. All right, so.
We can all just bombard him with emails requesting for us.
Please do. I will respond in a very asynchronous fashion. So please do. All right? Yes. All right, so option 2, and I've already kind of alluded to this. If we're talking about more clients and more cash, be okay with creating some smaller commitments too. If you only have, this is going to sound weird because I am not basically contradicting anything Doug said, hey, be really good at one thing. Be really good at one thing, but let people get a sample of it in smaller commitments. And smaller amounts of money, smaller durations, they all equal more yeses. This is just common sense, right? It's why we have monthly payments. And I will tell you, I was very much an advocate of this when people told me I was nuts. And Thomas Plummer was telling, no, packages. You got to prepay for all of it. No, people's lives run on smaller payments. That's why they don't pay in full for their car or their house. That's why Doug said $1,000 a month car payment. Guess what? The car doesn't cost $1,000. It costs a lot of thousands of dollars. But they have payments. So break it down, smaller commitments. So what kind of smaller commitment offers can we have? 14 to 42 day stuff. We're all kind of familiar with the 42 day. I don't see a whole lot of people doing paid 14-day offers. This is not new, though. BJ Gador was talking about 10 days to a tighter tummy in 2008 and 2009 in Bootcamp Blueprint as a paid front-end offer. This is not a new idea. It's just sometimes we have to meet people where they are to get them through the door. And then we've delivered, whether it's, and we can talk more about the 10x value thing. 10x value, I went back when Doug mentioned that. The first time I wrote about that in an email was 2007. And it's really easy to talk about in a B2B setting, right? Because it's it's black and white. It's monetary. If I charge you $300, I should be able to yield $3,000 in value. It gets more abstract in this sort of setting, but what it really means is we're just knocking somebody's socks off, not just with results. Results is the obvious thing, but experience, feeling welcome. Everybody has kind of their place where they feel like they fit. Well, you can definitely create that through an experience. You can't create that on a web page. But you can decide, hey, do I feel more comfortable when I go in Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks? Right? Do I feel more comfortable if I go into this type of atmosphere, for a bar or a restaurant or whatever else, or this type? You can feel more comfortable in this type of church or this type of church. You have to find your place, and the only way you can find your place is by experiencing your place or the options for places. So getting opportunities for people to come in and find their place. 14-day can be your friend no matter what you want to charge for it. Packages. Again, I just said, I was the one kind of not into the package thing, but I think that selling small packages of stuff, pretty good, right? Like a 10-pack of something feels like I can use it at my discretion. It feels like I have more control. It doesn't feel like, like if we sell a 28-day thing, the implication is day one starts today. And it doesn't have to, right? Because sometimes that is the reason they don't buy. If you tell me I can buy something and I can start in January, or you tell me I can start something after Thanksgiving or on Monday, everybody's like, hey, I'm going to start on Monday, right? So creating that type of thing, and then the guest thing. I understand all the arguments to charge people for everything. But again, there are plenty of people in here who raised their hands when I said, have you paid for something and not finished it, not used it? And if that's the case, well, if we can get them to use it and express intent and desire, that's a qualifier. Just like money is a qualifier. There's not only one single qualifier, right? And the perfect scenario is when we're meeting every potential qualifier. But if you're not getting enough people in, strip away one or two of those qualifiers and try to get people in that way.
Can you speak a little bit about I'm curious how this may be beneficial or not beneficial if we need not ideal clients? Mm-hmm. Because I have found that the lowball offers give me a totally different type of client that don't work in our facility, but I don't know if that's the same.
Then make it a...
Guys, we have 2-week offer, and it's great, and it works. We have 2 different levels, basically.
Make it shorter.
Shorter than 2 weeks?
Sure.
I can't get it all done in 2 weeks. Because
It doesn't matter. You probably know on day one whether or not it's your person or not your person.
Our package is 3 privates,
Mm-hmm.
and so I can't do all 3 privates in less than a half.
Can you do 2 privates?
Could I?
Mm-hmm.
Not with what? Not with my.
So,
Well, not with my availability. Of
so,
resources
so everything I've thrown out, you said no to, right?
I can't.
So you have to decide, like, do I need 3 sessions to qualify somebody from my end? Because an ideal client, both of you have to agree it's ideal. They have to agree, you have to agree. Right?
I guess what I'm getting at is so our most inexpensive offer is a 2-week unlimited class package, and it's $59.
Okay.
If somebody is looking to get a bargain, they're not going to do that package. They're going to go to Planet Fitness because they want something that's $20 a month. And that's
I don't think that's true.
That's what we've experienced.
I don't think it's true, though, because they're 2 different things. A session with you is supervised, right? Planet Fitness isn't supervised.
Getting clients to understand that, though, I guess, is the hurdle.
Then you need to promote more of how you're different than that. Like, so if I'm thinking about what goes into qualifying the right person, there is price, there is problem solved, what problem do you solve? Like the way you described what you do, I don't think Planet Fitness would have said any of.
No, and we have over 80% conversion with the packages that we have, so we're not having problems with it. But I'm thinking, do I need to make a different little entry-level package just for...
That is the entry. Like for me, $59 for 2 weeks for that sort of thing is entry enough, right? But if you like, so I don't want to go too far down a rabbit hole with it, but if you're getting the same person that's considering Planet Fitness, you're not articulating what it is that you do that I would think is pretty unique. Because if I can look at this and say, cool, 24-hour access, selectorized equipment, pizza and Tootsie Rolls, and then I'm in pain, I need somebody to help me alleviate pain. These two things aren't even related.
Yeah, I mean, there are people that see me one-on-one for that, but there's a whole other side of it where it's just fitness classes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's...
But it's still Planet Fitness's access. Like if you said Orange Theory, I might buy into that, right? But Orange Theory still, like, that's not, that's...
I guess my concern is the people that are looking for lowball offers.
You're gonna get that.
I mean,
Yeah.
but you're converting 80%. If you're converting 100%, you're not seeing enough people. Like, part of this, I think, and again, this is my opinion, we try to qualify way too much on the front end by like, oh, this person's cheap. I'm like, man, there's so much more that goes into it. A, do they suck? I don't care how much money they have, but if they're irritating as shit, I don't want them around me.
Right.
So I can't qualify just by money. And then B, do they actually want to solve a problem or have a problem that I am the best option to solve? In our old house, the guy next door to us was one of the founders of Long John Silver's. So he had as much money as anybody would ever want to have. And we talked about fitness because he had been in franchising, still in retirement, owned 55 Wendy's, right? And would talk about it, and quote unquote, when I told him about our adult fitness franchise, he's like, I wouldn't pay for that shit. And like, now he was interested in the youth fitness thing because he saw a market for it, and it wasn't he is the candidate. But you could have charged $1. It wouldn't have mattered to him, right? Because he had no interest in it. So when we're thinking about this, we're thinking about fit, we're thinking about problem that we can solve, desire that person has, and then we're thinking about finances. Like all of these things go into it. So you can manipulate the finances. You can manipulate the messaging to articulate the right fit or where you're deploying the offer to do it. And you can also talk about it. I mean, you can say point blank, like, hey, if you're looking for a big box health club that serves pizza and Tootsie Rolls and whatever else and doesn't have a commitment, we're not for you.
Mm-hmm. We do.
And then if you still get people who walk in after that, then maybe they need to experience it to know that they're in the wrong place. Like I am not somebody who wants 100% of the people who come in to say yes, ever. I don't want them to say yes, and I don't want to say yes to them 100% of the time. Because then that means all those people who might have been a good fit, I turned off before they ever got to the door. And if you're converting 80% and you think 3 sessions is the right amount, it's good. I mean, and frankly, I don't know that 59 changes if you make it 79. Like, if I'm willing to spend more than $10 a month or whatever else, then frankly, anything under 100 probably doesn't matter for a first-time package, right? So I would say, the low commitment thing is, I would tell you it's valuable for anybody. And So like, let's say we went to a car lot now. Even the cars that would have been above Doug's threshold, they would let you test drive for free. It's a free sample. There's not there's not this heavy qualifier in advance. But most people that make $25,000 a year aren't trying to go test drive Land Rovers, right? Now, there are a few, and that's just kind of the cost of doing business for doing business with humans. So I think that we just have to accept that if you position yourself in a way that would turn off those people, it's very rarely about money. And then the flip side is I have met plenty of people who have more money than everybody in this room combined that look like they are dead broke. So, and you probably see that, like if you're around the waste management folks and everything else, they drive up in their, F-Series truck and work boots, and it's as dulled down as it can be, right? So, yeah. So when you're thinking about it, that's why I said if you don't want to spend a lot of time with those people, you cut the time in half that you spend with them by just saying, I do 1 week somehow, right? Now, if you can't do it in 1 week, you can't do it in 1 week. But I would say that if there are ways to kind of pare it down in the level of commitment, that it would help, even if you need to charge the same price. Because then, like, I don't want to spend a month with somebody I don't enjoy, but I still probably can't know if I enjoy people or not until I've met them, right? And we can make all the assumptions we want, but I think all of you have had resumes that didn't match the quality of the person, or, I mean, for me, I would rather invest, a couple hours figuring out if this person's a good fit, if my intent is to get 32 months of lifetime membership out of them, right? I mean, that's how I would approach it. And make no mistake, I mean, we had Derek on the Zoom a month ago talking about how we only do paid assessments that are $99, and we do this and this and this. And Derek runs a great business. So, I mean, to each person, they get to choose their own. But I would say on average, if we don't have enough people, that's the path I would take.
I think you said it, just to reiterate what you said, you were talking to me a while back because, right, we deal like in the upper echelon of clients and whatever, and it was always like trying to find the perfect client. And you were like, you gotta cast your net bigger, and obviously there's multiple factors that come into play, but for sure most of the people we deal with, like, money's not the issue. And I was like, but I don't wanna, reduce it, but, like the number of people we get, but at the same time it was like, 100% of 2 people is 2 people, 50% of 10 is still, so we've found that, and we've grown significantly, and we still, to that point, like I was saying earlier, like we have clients in Maine, like even if they have money, they're notoriously cheap. So it's not like they're like the Long John Silver's guy.
I had so many people say that's just ridiculously expensive. That's just, and I'm like, okay, but I just also don't want to put myself into more of a pigeonhole of having super low ball offers and a whole bunch of people then going, oh, well, your intro offer was only this much, and then your actual membership offer is that.
But you're converting
It's like-
80%,
it's like
so it
two-
can't be that.
I mean,
I'm just talking about the Black Friday kind of offer,
Right.
how to spin it, make sure you don't get a whole bunch of people that are trying to, argue with you about how much you are valued as an instructor, not even from a physical therapy perspective, because that's just very special.
so a couple other thoughts on that. The first would be what Doug mentioned, I mentioned earlier. Like this, like if you told me I'm converting 30% of my people because of that, I would say we probably need to manipulate the offer. Okay. If you said 80%, I would tell you, you need more people through the door at $59 than even now, because there's still probably enough opportunity in the market for people that they don't know. Maybe all they've ever experienced is a bad fitness class at a big box health club, right? Like sometimes we have to prove to people what it's worth because they don't have any context. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay doing that because we're selling something that most of the people that we encounter are pretty bad at, or else we wouldn't have the obesity rates in the country that we have and everything else. I don't expect them to be, they've all had enough steaks that they know what a good steak is. They haven't all had enough experience with good training. They know what good training or coaching is. So I'm okay with that. But to his point, there used to be people, and I don't know if anybody still does it, but there were a couple sales products in the market and they talk about bragging about their 90% close rate. I'm like, yeah, and if we go through the drive-through at Chick-fil-A, they got a 100% close rate. If all you're doing is taking the credit cards of the people who walk through the door and say, please take my money, then your close rate's really high, but your bank account's really low. So our job in this instance is to get more people to go through. And again, like of the things that we do, if I'm casting a wider net, and let's say that I'm inundated, like on a Black Friday is a good example. I'm inundated and it takes me 15 extra hours to vet people, but the result is over the next year I make an extra $50,000. Cool, I'm in, right? Like and that was what happened like with Groupons originally, and that's why I kind of use that example, because I think it invokes some strong feelings for some people. I mean, we had people that sold, we had Ryan Riley that sold like 1,300 living socials in Seattle. Steve Long sold like 1,100 Groupons in St. Louis. And did they get 1,100 clients? No. Was it an absolute train wreck for a month as they were trying to sort through the people who actually used them initially? No. But I know Steve Long's business went from $12,000 a month to $54,000 a month too.
That's a pretty big jump.
So I can take the two offers we have. One is just for people who don't have a problem, right? And then one is for more problems. Sorry, I'm sure everybody has different things, right? I can promote the one that doesn't have all the special training and stuff to fill extra empty spots and those kind of things. But I've also been under the impression and the understanding that when you have an intro offer, it should be about half of what it would be for those people to continue on going forward. So if I discount it too much or make it too
far off, then they won't convert.
Well,
We've gone from 0 to like $600, $700, $800.
yeah, I don't know that there's a rule. Yeah.
It's much easier for them to swallow and process if the jump isn't so big.
So the front end offer, like a lot of people try to like oversimplify this, right? They try to say, well, it should be X. Well, it should be X if A, B, C, and D have happened. Like if the market knows who you are, if the market, like we've had people like Cressy Sports Performance, they don't discount a penny because everybody knows who they are, so it's kind of like supply and demand. But if you are trying to gain market awareness and your brand isn't well known with the people you're trying to reach, then the fastest way for you to get well known isn't about pricing, it's about experience. And if you have, like, so it becomes a little bit like talk radio when people try to say, hey, this is how you fix your marriage between commercial breaks. And it's like, well, there's not like some answer, well, your front end offer should be X%. No, I mean, there are a million variables that could be woven into this. I would tell you that if you're getting enough people and you're getting enough yeses out of the people that you get, then it's fine, and you can even make it a little more exclusive. If you're not getting enough people, then it's not fine, regardless of what somebody's percentages are. And we got to figure out a way to lower the friction, and sometimes that's price, sometimes it's duration, sometimes it's building value, sometimes it's the distribution channels that you're using to get it in front of people, right? Because if it comes in a Val pack, that's one thing. If it comes through referrals, that's another thing. So that's why, like, when people throw out real, like you said, well, that's how I've been instructed. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it sounds cool and it looks good on a form or something like that, but I mean, I would say for you, the easiest thing to do would be test something different. If you don't like the current result, just test something different and see if it gets you a different result.
I would say I don't like it, it's just that there's only so many spots, right? But so what can I highlight? I can highlight that, but how to highlight it so it doesn't surprise people or give me a whole bunch of people I have to run extra.
You tell people, hey, it's your first 14 days are discounted to X from the normal price. And hopefully they read it and see from the normal price of blank, right? I mean, you can even ask people like, hey, are you, are you somebody that would, if this was a good fit for you, before you even let them through the door, if this was a good fit for you, if we knocked it out of the park and did everything you wanted, would you be interested in, these are other programs that are range from X to Y? I mean, you can tell them before they ever walk in. Like, there's no rule that says you got to hold back the price until like day 14. I mean, I can tell them before they walk in the door. Like, hey, thanks for showing interest. This is what our prices look like. And hopefully, if you have a great experience, this is what it's going to be. Like, the last thing I'll say on that, because I know I want to keep rolling through this, is if people are shocked by your price, there's an easy way to address that. You tell them that in the first conversation, what it is. If people are, really kind of, like you had alluded to them kind of being rude about the price or whatever else, like, cool, well, yeah, not awesome for you.
I know, I'm just trying to save myself time. I have a whole bunch of people show up on my door and be like, that's too expensive, because it happens enough as it is. We use the 2-week qualification period also to figure out what's going on with each person and what kind of package they should move into. So we don't divulge prices up front. I'm like, it can be anywhere from $89 a month to $1,500 a month. It depends on what you're going to put together. We build a custom thing for each person. So it's very relative to what they're actually going through. If they tell me they are here for stress relief, that's going to be something different for somebody that's got,
But
weight loss goals, or they've got a massive injury or whatever, so we don't post our prices anywhere.
So I would tell you that you are creating the problems that you have strategically. You're doing it by choice, and you have a reason for doing it. But if you're not telling me what the prices are, you're okay with not telling me what the prices are. It's not like haphazard, so you can't be upset if they don't know what the prices are, and they're surprised by them.
Well, I just think there's also, in the industry too, people don't really know what it costs to have,
Right,
and stuff no matter what.
Correct. And they're not experts in it, so our job is to meet them where they are, because that's who we're dealing. Like, one thing that I've said repeatedly to most everybody here is, man, we chose this. Like, we chose to work with people, and I mean, I would hear this, like, so my dad's run an auto repair business for almost 40 years, right? And he doesn't particularly enjoy humans. And he will say that very regularly. I'm like, then maybe you shouldn't have chosen a job or created a business that involved humans having to come through the door asking you to solve problems that they couldn't solve for themselves. But that's the job he chose, right? So any of this, like, we can kind of manipulate how we navigate it, but I would say that some of it's just like expectations. The market is who the market is, right? Like, these are people that come to you with this level of expertise, this level of prerequisite knowledge. So I'm just going to expect them to be who they are. And some of them are cheap. Some of them that are rich are cheap. And that's how they got rich. And some of them are broke and frivolous. And that's how they got broke. So I don't know that the financial qualifier probably matters either way, because you get a lot of people who are, I remember growing up hearing the phrase credit card millionaires. They would act like they would just go and buy whatever until they hit their credit card limit. Well, they're probably going to hit their credit card limit with you when you're doing recurring billing. So keep that in mind, that that's just part of the stuff. And we
Problem with saying to people when they start, and then you will move into something that, just like what you just said, it could be either this or this. I feel like if I don't tell people some idea
I give them a range.
of like, okay,
But I'm
so
like, I don't know what's really going on right now with you.
you just don't want to look like you're hiding your prices,
No,
because then it makes
but-
it look like you're not.
This
like
might
you feel bad
this
about
might
it.
sound crazy, but we have 72 out of the box combinations of different packages that can be created for anybody. But it's also based on their goals, right? So I have to have that time to discuss with them what you really want to do. If they say I want to get shape, what does that mean?
So I'm going to keep running through this, but you understand if you got 72 combinations, you're casting a pretty wide net, so you should expect a pretty broad spectrum of people.
Oh yeah, and there are.
So,
Definitely are.
so along these lines, packaging is another thing that can be kind of attractive up front. Like we talked about 14-day resets, or get a specific benefit in 30 days. Like if you're trying to get people through the door, like sometimes you got to give them something in exchange for their time and money, not just attendance, not just access to sessions. Like part of the reason the whole lose 20 and 6 thing worked so well is because it was lose 20. There's a perceived result, regardless of whether or not it should have been lose 12 or 15 or 14 or 7 weeks. It's irrelevant. Like there was a specific benefit, right? Feel 10 years younger. Obviously, feel 10 years is very subjective, but it's way better than saying you get access to 6 sessions, because they don't know what those sessions are, and frankly, whatever they are, they're not that valuable they're not nearly as valuable as the result of those sessions to this person. So packaging it that way. And then the other one I know Doug touched on briefly, and I said I'll talk about it, is weekly pricing. Now, this is kind of an interesting one because it's like this kind of multi-faceted thing where weekly pricing, you can charge weekly pricing and ultimately collect money for 52 weeks instead of 48 weeks or whatever, basically, right? If you're not doing the 12-month thing. But people tend to think about money as in how much money do I have to spend now, right? Like if I have to get out, like what's in my wallet now? So if you're charging $300, but it's $75 now, sometimes that's more appealing to somebody, right? So even if all you did was your front-end offer was weekly pricing, like, hey, you know, you can do our lose 30-pound program for $75 a week. So you can get started for $75 today, $49 today, whatever. That, for some people, is going to convert at a higher rate. And sometimes it's just kind of a pattern interrupt. If you've been using the same front-end offer and you didn't change a single thing about it mechanically, just changing the pricing will give you, usually, I would say, I'm saying that knowing that I've got very limited sample size of people testing this, but it's enough that just that subtle change would be enough to get a little bit of a lift. And some of it just may be the novelty of it being presented differently. But some of it's also, if you ask me for $300 today, that's different than asking me for $75 today. Or if you ask me for $49 today, it's different than $199 today. So, so when we're thinking about putting together offers that get people in, solve a single problem, deliver a single result is usually easier. Feel younger, get out of pain, lose weight, something like that. It's just easier for somebody to wrap their heads around, right? Like the more you can simplify it. In fact, we've been playing with some offers for a couple things lately, and there are just too many moving parts. And the more moving parts, the more complex, the more people say, oh, I need to think about it. The simpler, hey, get this result, the happier they are. Sell them what they want, give them what they need. If somebody comes to you for weight loss, give them weight loss. Even if you firmly believe that they need to think about health holistically and they need to, focus on all these other aspects of total wellness, they don't know what you know, and frankly, you don't get to argue with them to convince them before they're your client, right? Like you can convince them once they're through the door. I mean, there have been plenty of people that I've had come through that tell me I need leads. I'm like, man, you have a really crappy sales process. You don't need leads yet. You got enough people in your world. You just haven't made an offer that's compelling to those people. So, but it's easier for me to convince them of that once they have leads and see that it's not working. Like you can't win that conversation by telling them they're dumb from the start, right? Like that's just not how it works. Magic pills sell in large numbers, right? And so the reason, and this kind of goes back to what we talked about for your offer, it's finding the right combination. Because it's not only about pricing, it's not only about the duration, it's about the win for both sides. And so it takes some tinkering to find the right offer. And a lot of people, they get really narrow-minded and they're like, oh, I need to have this one offer. Whether it's, hey, a front-end offer should look this way, or a front-end offer should just be a segment of my longer program, or all my front-end offers are transformation challenges. Like you got to be okay with kind of turning the dials because the market changes too. Like the easy example would be back when the 6-week challenge was so popular and everybody was selling iterations of their 6-week lose 20 type of challenge. Well, the offer didn't change, but the market changed just by becoming numb to it, becoming saturated, becoming aware of the kind of the bait and switch nature of a lot of the ones they were doing. So the market will continue to change. When I first got into the industry, it was not uncommon for health clubs to sell 3-year memberships. And Valley sold lifetime memberships. Now, the default for most health clubs is month to month. So the market will continue to change. If you don't evolve with your offers and understand what buyers are looking for. Like buyers probably are looking for convenience and flexibility more now than they've ever looked for it, right? Because that's what they see in billing. Like they don't want to be locked into subscriptions they can't get out of. So the idea of people selling 3-year memberships that you have to send a certified letter and proof of a new utility bill in another town to get out of, that's not a thing now, right? If you sell that, everybody's going to say no. And then, if you were selling the same thing that Orange Theory sells, understand that you're probably doing it in real estate that has a lower traffic count, that doesn't have the same level of intrusive visibility, that you're probably doing it with a smaller advertising budget, and you're probably doing it in a location that costs 1/3 of their rent, which was purchased solely or leased solely for its marketing ability, right? Like the Orange Theory here is right behind Chick-fil-A. So they're constantly seeing a bunch of people, and then you guys probably went to like, what is it, Taziki's or something right next to it, right? So it's just a really busy area. Well, that's marketing money being spent to be there, right? You could have just as nice a gym in the light industrial space right behind there for maybe 10% as much money. But nobody would ever see you unless you pulled them to you. All right. Repurpose. One of the things that I mentioned earlier, like if you're trying to stack bonuses and stuff, at this point, you guys have all been in business long enough. You've created things, you've done things. Pull those out of your Google Drive, pull those out of the archives, and recycle them. Throw a fresh coat of paint on them, put them in Canva to make them pretty. Give people some stuff and stack that up. The next one, you can splinter some things. A lot of people have tried to create value by just bundling and saying, that's how I'm going to compete against these other guys. I'm going to include Nutrition OS, or I'm going to give people unlimited access to me anytime they have a question, and I'm going to give all this extra coaching. You know what? Sell them extra coaching. Say, hey, you can buy a 4-pack of coaching hours that you can use however you want. If you want to do problem solving, if you want to do nutrition planning, if you want to do lifestyle coaching. Here, Black Friday, normally these 4 hours are $100 an hour. You can get these 4 hours for $250. So, you know, $150 off for this bundle. Transformation challenges. Again, if you've normally just given them to your clients, charge your clients. Like you can unbundle some of this stuff and get people to commit to doing it. Another easy way to make money, but it also makes them understand that these other things are valuable, independently valuable. You know, I thought the Cosgroves were very bright about this a long time ago, but they were kind of picking the hardest thing to unbundle and build value in. They're like, well, there's program design and program supervision. People didn't understand the difference. They understand the difference between nutrition coaching and training. But the idea that they had that you unbundle things, 100% spot on. All right, last one. Think like Coca-Cola. There you go. Doug talked about restaurants. I'm going to talk about getting diabetes. So think like Coca-Cola. The premise here is really simple. Like it's the same liquid, no matter if it's in 7.5 ounce cans, 12 cans, 20 ounce bottles, 2 liters, or from fountains. Same thing, but they package it up and distribute it in different ways. If you're doing something, Doug talked about, hey, get really good at this one thing. That doesn't mean there isn't different ways to distribute the one thing, right? 6-week programs, 14-day stuff, splintering, all that. So that is one of the things I don't think we're good at. We're good at doing the thing. We're not good at distribution of the thing. So find other ways to distribute it. Distribution channels. Think about like all the different places. And in fact, if you look down below it on the document, I mean, they will pay for exclusivity in distribution channels, right? Like we are the exclusive beverage of Disney or Universal or, you know, at Cincinnati Reds ball games or wherever. People look to be the exclusive provider at these places, right? So understand that there are other ways to distribute what we do, whether it's online, offline, off-site, in-home. There are other things that we can do. So sometimes we get really myopic about, okay, I do this one thing. I do small group training for 50 and older women. Okay, well, you're running those classes all the time. You could sell all access passes that are kind of glorified punch cards to those things. You could sell 1-month memberships to those things, 14-day memberships. You could probably do drop-in stuff. You could transplant that program and offer it other places if you chose and distribute it other spots. You could take these people that you serve and find other things to unbundle and give them and sell them additionally. But creating leverage, oh, nope, that's on this document because she ain't paying no attention to me, right? All right, so using Coca-Cola as the example, when Coca-Cola has that much market share, right? Now, we got the shelf space. So if we want to throw Dasani water in there, we can do it. If we want to throw energy drinks in there. If you think about what the cooler space looked like in a convenience store like 10 years ago, it bears zero resemblance to how it looks now. It's like half energy drinks now, right? Well, they're still owned by most of the same people, but they're just using this shelf space or cooler space in a different way, but they already had that, right? They pay for better shelf space. Okay, we want to be at eye level. We don't want to be on the floor. They want exclusivity in certain venues. They use celebrities and athletes for social proof endorsements, right? So understand that there are things to be learned, just like Doug said, hey, learn from other areas. I'm sure nobody ever walks into a convenience store and says, I'm going to learn from Coke. But I'm kind of the mindset that if Warren Buffett owns the stock, then I'm going to learn from that company. So there's something to be said with like saying, okay, we're really good at this stuff, but we've only really looked at it through this one lens. We market it in this one way. We introduce people to it in this one way. We deliver it in this one way. No wonder people get bored, right? There's only this one lane that people are on. We have other ways that we can get people involved. We have other ways that we can deliver it to them. So if you're looking to make more money, if you're looking to get more clients, you've got to probably widen your kind of vision as to how you do that. And some of it's the way our front-end offers are. Some of it's introducing a more consistent machine. That's really all that weekly client machine is. It's like all those things that we did some of the time, now we're going to do them consistently month after month. Seems simple, but if you were normally doing them 37 weeks a year and now you're doing them 52 weeks a year, we're probably going to see a pretty good lift, right? So, all right, that's it.
So, Pat, on this one, like, maybe I rethink my comment earlier. Think about like, you have the shelf space and others, they start acquiring brands so they can get that profit. Like the opportunity to hire this other person that may not currently train the client the way we would, or waste management, we're acquiring top line revenue and profit based on basically acquisition, right? And then train him to run the play. And that's kind of my head just went to, oh yeah, that's a different way to think about it versus, oh, you don't do what we do.
Yeah. I mean, you basically have the opportunity, which is the hardest part of this to get. The rest of it's not easy, but you've already cleared the biggest hurdle. You have the opportunity. The second part is you've got like the IP. So, you know, a lot of people get bogged down on like the easiest pieces. I'm like, the hardest part of this is, do we get people to pay us money for what we do? Right? Like if you figure that out, the rest of it gets way simpler. Because if you can't get people to pay you money profitably, as Doug alluded to, like we can probably get people to pay us not enough money for what we do. But I mean, you've already got the biggest obstacles. There are different ways to solve this problem. There's not only like, hey, we have to do this. It's like when people used to say, well, I got to hire a trainer that has this type of experience. I'm like, man, your clients don't know the difference between the person who's been doing this 20 years or the person who's been doing this for 20 minutes. They know how they want to be treated, and they're not experts in the protocol. They're not experts in the program. If you can get the person who's been doing this for 20 minutes, but it's really nice and is on time to execute your plan, that's way better than the person that you have to go unlearn for, you know, their 20 years of doing things completely different because they came up in a big box gym environment and did machines and bodybuilding based programs, and that's nothing like what you do. And yeah, there are just so many different ways to solve problems. And I think if you borrow from other industries, if you borrow from just other perspectives, worst case scenario, you're going to have more potentially good ideas. Doesn't mean they're all good ideas. I think Everything's like a hypothesis that has to be tested. Anything else?